this is going to be your guide to using Chien-Pao in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So, over the years, I've generally used Weavile as a good Pokemon for kind of explaining what a sweeper is and what it does. Solid offense, solid speed, pretty frail. Chien-Pao just comes in and completely invalidates an entire Pokemon's existence. Same typing, just better stats. So same attack, was 130, got nerfed in the first patch, no one really knows why, the game wasn't even out yet, so that was kind of weird, but then 135 on the speed. So the first thing we need to do is see where this Pokemon stacks, and yeah, it's faster than a lot of Pokemon. So we got Jolteon down here, just outspeed that and wreck it. That's cool. Weavile, Meowscarada, some other Pokemon, and then very few things actually, like, it's better to just look at what outspeeds you instead of what you outspeed. So Barraskewda, no one uses it. Iron Bundle, that's going to be interesting to see how this Pokemon gets used Battle Stadium. Legendary Pokemon are either unreleased or outright banned. Dragapult, Electrode, that's it. You throw Chien-Pao out there and really, nothing's gonna immediately outspeed it, except for like Scarf Pokemon and certain Dragon Dance tiers and stuff, but that even gets weird. So some Pokemon, they like to feel greedy, you know, you throw the Gyarados out there, you give it the adamant nature, and then a Dragon Dance is gonna like outspeed everything, so it doesn't really matter. Not when Chien-Pao is in the metagame. Also, Gyarados at level 50 plus 1 adamant ends up at 199 speed, so it actually just gets outsped by Jolteon, which is like a big problem, except Jolteon has kind of gotten power crept into non-existence. So Gyarados still kind of gets away with the adamant nature, but now it's like, nah, you need that Jolly, you need to keep up with like the Iron Bundle, the Flutter Mane, the Chien-Pao, all those other fun Pokemon, but yeah, like, we just have stats, and even the defenses, not terrible. 80-80 means you're surviving some kind of neutral physical hit. Less so on the special hits, and like a Specs is going to be threatening, but generally if you see something on this, like with the Weavile, oh, that's 70-65. You're surviving a lot less, and that's not the end of it. So we have 120 attack, you can do some speedy things, but this isn't going to shred every Pokemon. Your ability will. The defense stat of all other active Pokemon is multiplied by 0.75, which is roughly a little more than 33% more damage. That's how you kind of look at it. You do a third more damage for free off your ability, slightly better Life Orb, which means just run another Life Orb on top of it, or a Choice Band or something, and you wreck everything. Going into the moves, our coverage is really straightforward because I know you guys are probably tired of me complaining about it, but I'm going to keep on complaining about how weird the design of modern Pokemon is. They don't just like kitchen sink things and let people figure out some wacky moveset. It's, we designed this Pokemon to be very specific. We're not going to give it like this extra cute little coverage move that's going to break the game. So you really only have 4 moves to choose from. You got your Stab, they gave you Sacred Sword, and they gave you Psychic Fangs. But that's actually pretty good. Like, you plug in the Psychic Fangs, and that flips a solid amount of attacks right here, and then it also means you can actually do something to like a Toxapex. Tera Blast is also an option. Maybe that's also why, because Tera is going to be a thing. Well, you actually have to dedicate your Tera to finding that extra crazy coverage instead of, oh, there's just a ground type move kicking somewhere in this Pokemon's moveset. So you actually have to give up the mega level power on your team to then get just an outrageously crazy Pokemon. So maybe that kind of makes a bit more sense with the design. But then if you want to actually like figure out what's going to be better, trial and error, just go around clicking on moves. Wow, 899 super effectives on the ground. That actually gets pretty nuts. And ground fairies too much. So like, yeah, you can find that extra little bit of coverage that you're looking for, and then ground gives you some for the poison types outside of psychic, and then a few extra super effective hits on top of it. Pretty good stuff. The moves themselves, Icicle Crash, 30% chance to make the opponent flinch. This has made me lose more games than it has any right to, because people will just do it. You run the Icicle Crash, 1 in 3 chance you turn a losing matchup or a lost game into a win. Win probability shouldn't work that way, but it does. The only drawback is going to be the 90% accuracy, so I mean, like, do you lose the game completely, or is it a 10% chance that you lose with the 30% chance you win? If Icicle Crash lands and doesn't flinch and you lose and then it misses, it's effectively the same thing. So you might as well just have that chance that you win right there. This also opens up the Ice Spinner, so we just got more reliable damage for Ice type moves that are physical instead of like needing to use the Icicle Crash to actually have the risk. But yeah, it ends the effective terrain. Doesn't really happen too much, but could feel pretty good. It's mostly just 80 power, not gonna miss, gonna hit. It's like a Dark Pulse. It's like a bread and butter kind of special attacking move for Ice Physical, which hasn't really existed. Then Throat Chop. So you also get access to the Crunch. But Throat Chop just has the utility. Maybe there's a Sylveon out there, you Throat Chop it, and now you shut down an entire Pokemon, and then that also kind of opens up like Throat Chop into an Ice Spinner. That's a KO, but now you're not taking any damage, and you're just completely outplaying the opponent. Same thing for Skeledirge, Throat Chopping it. There goes its signature move. Now it's a Ghost-type Pokemon that gets one shot anyways, unless it's like full hit points, full defense. But yeah, it's just good to remove anything from the opponent for the same amount of power as the Crunch. The only difference is 20% chance to maybe convert a weird tank matchup, but I don't think that really matters too much. Then Sacred Sword, Psychic Fangs. Sacred Sword ignores target stat changes, so if they do have a high amount of defense, doesn't matter. Also, because of Sword of Ruin and then like a boosting damage item, it also doesn't matter, so you can just do crazy amounts of damage with this, and then the tank doesn't have options, unless it's poison type, and unless it's doing some other weird stuff. And then, like I said, you got coverage move, you got some Tera options. Do you go Ice Tera into the Ice Spinner? Do you just all in? I don't know, it feels kind of weird, because when you have an Ice-type Pokemon, like, you just want to be like, hey, I'm an Ice main, but Dark exists, and it does the same damage as Throat Chop, so you could also invest in Dark, which is just going to hit everything better than the Ice-type. I don't know. Jolly Nature, Max Attack, Max Speed, what does that look like? So now we're going to get into the actual damage for the Pokemon. Silvally, a 95-95, just a good Pokemon to kind of compare numbers on. And it's weird. So we have Choice Band, Sword of Ruin, 120 attack, not neutrally one-shotting everything. The power of base power. Now, if you do go into Tera, yeah, that's going to flip the numbers. So some consider, like, you go Tera Dark, go Tera Ice, that's going to make it to where you neutrally one-shot everything, and then you just play for coverage. Or there's also, but like that kind of makes it weird, because then there's also the angle where you want to have the Tera for that extra super effective to then have that for more coverage and more KOs. It's also worth considering that this is also one of the tankiest things you're going to see. So like a Palafin, we can use this as a reference because we're going to be hitting it with dark type moves. So like Crunch, it's got that, and then you Tera, and then you win. So weird numbers and stuff just kind of tacked onto the Pokemon, kind of showing like, yeah, there's benefits to the Tera Dark, even though you really just want to go Ice. But the weird thing about Ice is it's primarily there for super effective hits. So you're just going to crush Dragon-type Pokemon anyways, Grass-type Pokemon. Crunch is there, so you one-shot more things on the neutral with Crunch. And then the coverage that we talked about. So yeah, Dark, Tera, Chien-Pao, Choice Band, just bodying everything, kind of the play. And this is like one of the tankiest Pokemon you're ever going to see. So going back to the Jolteon power creep, this matchup, you don't need to Tera, you don't need to do anything. The neutral hit, non-stab, Sacred Sword just takes out something like a Jolteon. So yeah, you can just kind of run Unga Bunga, Chien-Pao. Whatever you go up against, you get your one Choice Band selection, and that Pokemon's KO'd. It's that straightforward, and to catch up to your speed, they need a Choice Scarf. So you survive, since now they're not boosting their damage, and 80-80 is going to take a neutral. Unless it's like a crazy super effective hit. Chien-Pao's okay. Then we can go over some other options, you know, the Life Orb, that lets you kind of pivot between moves. Sucker Punch, just in case there's something like a Scarf or a Dragapult or something getting out of control. But yeah, then you just respond to it and say, what now? Swords Dance, that's an option. You set up into a tanky setup Pokemon, they get an Iron Defense, you get a Swords Dance, you break them down, and now you just have a Swords Dance Chien-Pao that's one-shotting everything and doesn't have to give up its Tera type. Taunt also shuts down setup, especially on that 135 speed. Unless it's Prankster, you just get to taunt the tank, they don't get anything they want, your opponent switches out, and that's kind of a free win right there, because you just get to land some kind of crazy damage move or coverage, or maybe you go Taunt, Swords Dance, Throat Chop here, and then something. Like the Dark Ice, not the best combo. That could also be where we find like some kind of other combination for your Tera type into a Tera Blast. If you just want to have like anti-setup, like that's what this is. You can read your opponent. They've got like 2 different setup Pokemon. You really want to get the most of that, and then you just go, all right, I'm taunting you, and I'm Swords Dancing you, and then I'm Tera-ing into my coverage. Throat Chop's gonna one-shot everything because of the Swords Dance now. Tera Blast picks up pretty much everything else. Dark Fairy seems to do pretty good. Also, yay Pokemon DB updating to the new decks, which is also why we're seeing like all these like crazy numbers now, potentially getting into like the thousands for super effective hits if you can leverage it. I wonder if there is one of those right now. Either way, a lot of these Pokemon aren't in, and then Tinkaton sucks. So yeah, you actually just go Dark Fairy. And that means like the weirdness of a Fairy Chien-Pao, but at +2, again, like the coverage doesn't really matter anymore. And if you actually get that anti-lead set up into Swords Dance, the opponent's game is just over. Does this thing get play rough? No, it doesn't. Like I said, like this is the design where you use the Tera type to then find that, and then it doesn't just get the free play rough that's stronger and then you win anyways. So with this, that's cool. Do you even need Life Orb at that point with the Swords Dance? Probably not. So this could be a Focus Sash, and then you just have like the anti-mega everything response lead. What can they do about this? I think the only thing that responds to it is a Focus Sash, Mach Punch, Breloom. Like you trade sashes and then Breloom gets the priority over you because you're playing for the one-shots. But this is still, I think this is kind of a play right now, especially with how bulky the game is. But we're going to see like more Pokemon coming in, legendary Pokemon, and then some other changes with potential Paradox in future Battle Stadium seasons. So that could mean like, oh, now it's just a faster meta. So you're not just going to AFK lead something that's going to get set up on by the Chien-Pao. And then we just got some other options. Ice Shard with the Focus Sash is pretty common, pretty devastating. Sheer Cold. It's funny because people are saying like, oh, you're just a noob. You put one-hit KO moves on your Pokemon. And that level of ignorance, those people are the ones that most desperately need my content to learn about the game because they don't know anything. Like, mastering one-hit KO moves is how the game works. And if you just want to be like a casual baby that plays Smogon, well, if you ever go to any official Pokemon tournaments or any official Pokemon ladders like the Battle Stadium, you're going to get completely bodied because Fissure is everywhere and Sheer Cold is incredible tech. What are you going to do to a Toxapex you can't hit super? You just want to Sheer Cold it. Oh no, Sheer Cold can miss. So what? It's not going to kill you in 4 turns because it's Toxapex. So you have like that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, this is the crazy anti-tank option, but then Taunt Swords Dance can find that as well. Dondozo becomes a problem for you with this moveset. Dondozo might just be super duper common to deal with a Chien-Pao, and we start seeing like electric Chien-Pao. Game's too wild. There's too many options, and I said this before Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out, that right now your goal, if you're learning Pokemon, is to steal wins. You just do something stupid, you Tera into it, and then you get a win that, because you brought like the 1% thing that no one's going to prepare for, the 5% thing that's not really worth prepping for, like the electric Chien-Pao. If I see a Chien-Pao, I'm still going to have to use my Dondozo, and I'm hoping I'm getting the pickup on Chien-Pao with like Heavy Slam or something before it can even be a threat to me. And that'd be another fine thing, like Chien-Pao sees Dondozo, maybe throws a taunt, then just gets like Heavy Slammed and dies. The game is silly and wacky right now, and it's just going to go like that for everyone. You know, you can't prepare for everything, and that's why you just kind of have to hope like you just catch your opponent and they trip, and then you just win on this. Or you just have like this backing Pokemon, because now you can just splash this into any team composition. Oh, I need a sweeper? Yeah, just do this. Maybe Choice Band, maybe Life Orb. It's going to clean up everything. Even in the late game, like a resisted hit or a neutral Choice Banded hit, just devastating, as we saw with the damage on the Jolteon. So like, yeah, Choice Band, Sword of Ruin, Crunch, Icicle Crash, whatever. Throat Chop, not Crunch. I just have that there because it's the same damage calculation. Yeah, even something that resists that is going to have a bad time. Like, look at that. We're just throwing up the Hydreigon, and then you use Throat Chop on it for over half its health. So if Hydreigon just, like, ate a Body Press at some point, or got some kind of chip throughout the game, it doesn't matter if your Choice Banded into a Throat Chop. You're still doing enough to the Hydreigon to win the game, or you're setting up the win for your next Pokemon if Chien-Pao isn't your last, after scoring KO on just the raw Choice Band Throat Chop. So it's going to be a very interesting Pokemon to watch play out, but it's definitely needed to kind of break up a lot of the stalliness and tankiness and just ugly that's in Pokemon Battle Stadium. So, fun stuff. Can still get walled out, can just have the wrong moveset, or it can get way bullied by priority, because like Scizor comes in, bullet punch Scizor, back in the game, just dunks on Chien-Pao. Oh, you lead Chien-Pao because you thought they were going to set up something on their Glamora, and then they actually led Scizor to read your Chien-Pao? Like, that's the level of game we're getting into. You have to predict the opponent's prediction lead, and then the game's just lost on the spot. So, like, you switch out the Chien-Pao, but then Scizor can just free set up a Swords Dance. It's not really going to get one shot by anything that Chien-Pao has unless you're Tera Fire. And then that's just going to be rough for whatever you bring in, unless you have a Dondozo to back up your Chien-Pao. And then you're playing a really weird game of cat and mouse, except it's with an evolved Mantis. But if you also don't have like a response to a +2 Scizor on your team, then Scizor just bodies everything. Chien-Pao eventually has to come in and get bodied. A lot of people are upset that this thing exists, but it actually seems like it's going to make the game more diverse, which is a really good thing, and that's just what Smogon babies can never understand about real Pokemon. But there we go, guys, giving you some ideas, giving you some cool things to do. Seems like a pretty fun Pokemon in every way, and that's going to be awesome. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.